You're listening to Briargrave Radio. Horror stories from the places the map forgot. I wasn't supposed to be on that highway. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the desert, honestly. But when my GPS rerouted me to avoid traffic, I didn't question it. I just followed the blue line like everyone else does, trusting the little voice that told me to turn left, then right, then merge onto a road I'd never heard of. The sun was already low when the pavement thinned into a narrow strip of cracked asphalt. The desert stretched out on both sides, endless, pale, shimmering with heat. I hadn't seen another car in almost an hour. I should have turned back. But the GPS insisted I was on the fastest route. I kept driving. The engine died just as the sun touched the horizon. No sputtering, no warning lights, just a sudden, heavy silence. I coasted to the shoulder and tried the ignition again. Nothing. The desert swallowed the sound. I sat there for a long moment, gripping the steering wheel, listening to the ticking of the cooling engine. The air outside was still, the heat radiating off the sand like a living thing. I checked my phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi, no GPS. Just a blank map and a spinning wheel. The sun dipped below the horizon. The temperature dropped fast, and the desert changed. At first, it was just the silence, not peaceful silence, not natural silence. A heavy, suffocating quiet that felt like it was pressing against my ears. The kind of silence that makes you aware of your own heartbeat. I stepped out of the car and looked around. The desert stretched out in every direction, flat, empty, endless. The sky was a deep purple, the first stars flickering into view. The air smelled like dust and something faintly metallic. I popped the hood and stared at the engine, pretending I knew what I was looking at. I didn't. Everything looked normal. Everything looked wrong. I closed the hood and leaned against the car, trying to steady my breathing. That's when I saw it. A ripple in the sand. Far out in the desert. Too far to make out clearly. Too slow to be wind. The sand shifted in a long, smooth line, like something was moving beneath the surface. I blinked. The ripple stopped. The desert went still. I told myself it was heat haze, a trick of the light, my imagination. But the sun was gone. There was no heat haze. I got back in the car and locked the doors. Night in the desert is different from night anywhere else. It doesn't feel like darkness. It feels like absence. The stars were bright, but the ground was pitch black, the sand absorbing every bit of light. The air grew colder, sharper, as if the desert was exhaling after holding its breath all day. I turned on the interior light. It flickered, then died. The battery was dead. I sat in the darkness, listening. At first, I heard nothing. Then I heard it, a faint sound, soft, rhythmic, like footsteps, not on pavement, not on gravel, on sand. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped. Silence, then a whisper of movement. Sand shifting, grains sliding against each other. Something was out there. Something was moving. I didn't look. I didn't want to see. I curled up in the back seat and waited for morning. I must have fallen asleep at some point because I woke to sunlight burning through the windows. For a moment, I felt relief. Then I saw the footprints. They circled the car. Not human footprints, not animal footprints. Just shallow depressions in the sand, evenly spaced, forming a perfect ring around the vehicle. I stepped out slowly, my legs trembling. The footprints led away from the car in a straight line, stretching out into the desert until they disappeared over a dune. I followed them with my eyes. The sand shimmered. Something moved. A faint distortion like heat haze, but the air was cold. The shape shifted, rising slightly above the sand, then sinking again. I backed toward the car. The shape moved closer. Not fast, not aggressive, just steady. As if it knew I wasn't going anywhere. I got in the car and slammed the door. The shape stopped. The desert went still. By noon, the heat was unbearable. The car felt like an oven. My water bottle was half empty. I had two choices: stay in the car and hope someone drove by, or walk. The highway stretched out in both directions, shimmering in the heat. I hadn't seen a single vehicle since the engine died. I looked out at the desert. The sand was still. The footprints were gone, erased. I grabbed my backpack, took a deep breath, and started walking. The heat was brutal. The sun felt like it was drilling into my skull. The air shimmered with waves of distortion. I walked for what felt like hours. The road didn't change. The horizon didn't move. The world felt stuck, like I was walking in place. I checked my phone again. Still no signal. But the time had changed. It was earlier. I frowned and checked again. Earlier still. The clock was running backward. I shoved the phone in my pocket and kept walking. The heat haze thickened. The road rippled. The desert shifted. And then I saw it. A figure, far ahead, standing in the middle of the road. Tall, thin, still. I stopped. The figure didn't move. I took a step forward. The figure took a step back. I took another step. The figure stepped off the road and into the desert. Then it sank, slowly, smoothly, like it was being pulled under. The sand swallowed it. The desert went still. I turned around and walked back to the car. By the time I reached it, the sun was setting again. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't drunk enough water. My head was pounding. I collapsed into the driver's seat and closed my eyes. When I opened them, it was night. The desert was silent, too silent. I heard the footsteps again, closer this time, circling the car, slow, measured. I didn't move. The footsteps stopped at the driver's side door. I held my breath. A soft sound, not tapping, not scratching, breathing, right outside the window. I turned my head slowly. The window was dark, but something was standing there, a shape, a distortion, a ripple in the air, like heat haze in the cold. It leaned closer. The window fogged slightly. I froze. The shape tilted, as if studying me. Then it stepped back. The sand shifted. The shape sank into the desert. Gone. I didn't sleep. I waited for dawn. When the sun rose, I stepped out of the car and looked around. The footprints were back, but this time, they didn't circle the car. They led away from it, a straight line, into the desert, toward a distant dune. I followed them. I don't know why. Maybe I was dehydrated. Maybe I was delirious. Maybe the desert wanted me to. The footprints led to the top of the dune. I climbed slowly, my legs shaking. When I reached the top, I froze. The desert was different. The dunes were arranged in perfect concentric circles, massive rings carved into the sand, stretching for miles. At the center of the rings was a depression, a pit. Something moved inside it, a ripple, a distortion, a shape. I stepped back. The sand shifted beneath my feet. The dune collapsed. I slid down the slope, tumbling into the pit. The sand swallowed me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. I couldn't move. Then the sand released me. I lay on my back, gasping. The pit was empty. The desert was silent. The sky was dark. Night had fallen instantly. I stood up slowly. The footprints were gone. The rings were gone. The dunes were gone. The desert was flat, endless, empty. Except for one thing. My car, sitting a few feet away, engine running, headlights on. I walked toward it slowly. The driver's door was open. The interior light flickered. Something was sitting in the driver's seat. A shape, a distortion, a ripple. It turned its head toward me. The window fogged. I stepped back. The shape stepped out of the car. The sand shifted beneath it. It took one step toward me, then another, then another. I ran. I don't know how long I've been running. The desert doesn't change. The sky doesn't change. The world doesn't change. But the footsteps behind me do. They're getting closer, slow, steady, patient. The desert is alive, and it's following me. I don't know what it wants, but I know what it does. It waits, it watches, it learns. And when the sun sets again, I think it will finally catch me. This has been Briargrave Radio. If tonight's story stayed with you, subscribe before the next signal comes through. And remember, not every place wants to be found.